Hello and welcome. We are in our third workshop series of this wonderful crystal and chakra series. So I'm really excited. These are two of my other favorites, the heart and the throat chakra. Um, with my own experiences with um, having trauma, throat chakra, you don't really want to talk about it, like stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see what Lex has to say today. Sure, I'm going to learn a lot. I learned so much every time that I talk with you, Lex. So I'm going to turn it over to you and we can go ahead and start.
Hey guys, welcome back. Super psyched. I was thinking of what I was going to say when we popped on, and I also was going to be like, oh, another two favorites. And then I'm like, I guess they're just all my favorite because I keep saying that. But yes, these are really great because what, like you said, to be able to eradicate a lot of that pain from trauma or things that really like hurt and damaged and hurt your energy of your heart chakra is to speak about it, which is like the most terrifying thing ever. I know. I remember the last time I was in inpatient for in the psychological ward, they had said to me, "Why don't you just pick up the phone and call someone?" And I'm like, I block throat chakra. Like I didn't know that at the time, but that's what it was. Like she made it sound so easy, and it's not. It's really not easy because like you don't really know what you're feeling. You're just feeling like this dread or this just unfavorable emotion, and you can't really pinpoint the specifics. Like I'm feeling insecure, or I'm feeling this kind of pain, or I'm feeling sad because of this. Like you can't really pinpoint it. You're just feeling. I used to explain it as like this hole in your chest, and like the ends of the earth water, like the ocean's just pouring into it. Like how do you explain that, like where that root comes from, that emotion, that feeling? So what we're going to do is working with the heart and throat chakra, be able to kind of understand your heart chakra, what you're feeling within that, and then be able to connect it to throat chakra stones that are going to help you speak about it. So we're going to start in our heart chakra. Our heart chakra is actually linked to the element of air. So when you think about it, like you breathe, you are receiving oxygen, and then your oxygen goes through your bloodstream, it diffuses the oxygen where it needs to go, and then it turns into CO2, which we then give back to our nature and our environment and our plants. So the heart chakra is all about allowing you to receive and give, and that makes so much sense. Then also it has the unconditional love aspect. Obviously, our heart is connected to all those emotions, compassion, love. But then you also have the adverse. Your heart chakra is attached to fear and anxieties and anger, worry. Those are like really, and guilt and shame. All those we get stuck up in our heart chakra. And our heart chakra is super important for flowing the energy throughout the rest of our body, much like how it pumps our blood to the rest of your body. So you always want to come back and double check that you got open heart chakra. And the biggest thing I found was once I eradicated and talked about this trauma, my heart chakra is very much like I called it like it like blows open. Like the only thing that really kind of gets in there and stuck every once in a while is like when I overthink if I said the right thing to somebody, and I'm worried about if I said something mean or something like that. Like those are like the little things that get stuck in there now. But that biggest thing that was blocking it was those traumas, unspoken traumas, those unspoken fears, and especially anger that held it up. So we start with, for that, our Eudolite. Okay, give you a little close up. Eudolite has this ruby looking colors in it. Eudolite is great for vanquishing fear, softens sorrow, dissolves scarcity thinking, which is also going to connect you to your root, because root chakra is all about your stability, and like that includes your finances, being like safe in your financial world, like knowing that you could put food on your table. So this is going to alleviate scarcity thinking, so you can start to try and attract more abundance because you're thinking more abundantly and positively. So that's going to also connect to that. You can kind of tell because you've got the mottled red and pink for your heart chakra, and then you have all these darker mottled black stone pieces, which will then link to your root. This is my favorite for removing emotional blocks that prevent you from moving forward positively. So That's a big one because you can move forward in anger. I don't recommend it, but you can. And it's not going to help you. You're gonna hit another block and hit another block. So this is going to help you to move forward with more of a positive attitude about things. Encourages us to be generous with our love, money, time, and other resources. So that's going to open up that compassionate part of your heart chakra as well. So that's why I really like Utilight. It kind of kicks like a couple things for me. Because that's hard, because with compassion, you can release anger and resentment because you can start to understand, not that you're agreeing and not that you deserved what happened, but you can start to kind of understand why that person acted that way or why that situation happened the way it did. So you can transmute that negativity into a learning lesson, which is something more positive. So you're like, that's why I had to go through that, because then I learned this positive aspect of it. So Utilight was something that I kept with me all the time. Like I even carved one that I keep in a pouch in my purse into the shape of a heart to remind me of that connection to the heart chakra. So this one very much helped me with alleviating and softening that sorrow. First of all, that's what was like the first thing that Utilight hit with me, was like, it allowed me to cry. And I think that crying really softens that sorrow. So that helped me with that a lot. Moving in from that, you've got your Kambaba jasper. Let me dip it in this water real quick so you can see this. All right, just looking at Kambaba jasper is like, look at the circles and the patternation of it. It's very uniformed and like kind of unique, but it's not overwhelming or crazy. Like it has these nice circular patterns to it. It's very peaceful and tranquil to even look at. And then that is the energy that Kambaba jasper actually emits, is inner peace by calming your mind. So when you look at stuff that's in order or, straightened out or just nice and organized, your mind reflects that. It becomes more organized and it becomes more able to navigate because it's not so clustered. So your Kambaba jasper is going to really help tranquil that mind so that you're not all over the place. It's going to be starting to be more reminiscent of like an organized environment, because that's another thing too. Your environment directly affects your mind. So you also, maybe when you're working with Kambaba jasper, it also inspired me personally to start straightening up my space. Because like I started to feel that calm from looking at the stone. And then I was like, what else can I put in nice little circular order, And then I started working on getting rid of a lot of clutter that built up during my depression and a lot of that kind of stuff. And like, you just start to breathe again. And then the ideas are forming. You got like a plan all of a sudden because you have that structure. It also helps boost confidence because you're being led by your heart instead of your mind. Now that's a big one. If we overthink a lot and we think we have confidence when we hold it up here, but then we do things that we might have said the wrong thing, like I said earlier. Now you're self-doubting. So you don't want to be led by your mind. You want to be led by your heart, because then you never are going to run into an experience where you are self-doubting the decision that you made. So I feel like most of my confidence comes from just listening to this puppy and following that through. So, and it also reduces fear and worry, which is a big one for not only your heart, but also your root. And you can kind of tell that this is a combo stone as well, because you have the black as well as the green. This is also known as, I believe, crocodile stone. Somebody who's from this country told me that one day, and I was like, that's it. That makes sense. Kind of looks like a little crocodile. Yes, confidence. This is epidote. This guy is really cool. I like epidote in its rough form because it has these tiny little tabular looking crystals all over it. Like these little, it kind of looks like black tourmaline like shoots, but it's all green. And epidote is great for balancing and stabilizing the flow of energy in your body, which is kind of what your heart chakra in general is in charge of. So this is a great stone to lay on your heart chakra and visualize that balance and that stability flowing through all of your other chakras. So that will definitely help balance and stabilize not just your heart chakra, but by placing it here, it'll also now stabilize and balance the energy flowing through your body all over, which is very important. And by doing so, you're increasing your personal power. So that's another one of the properties of epidote. So if you've got balanced, flowing, stabilized energy, you're unstoppable. It's so true. Like if you take the time in the morning to get that balance and stabilize that flow of energy before you leave the house, you're gonna get so much done. Like it's kind of mind blowing. Like I don't think people believe me how much I rely on my morning routines, but I don't leave the house until that energy is balanced and stabilized, because I cannot bring forth my best self into this world without doing so. And then you just feel so good. Put the ones we talked about on this side. Got to remember which water's for dipping rocks and which one's for drinking. All right. Oh, another thing about epidote, you can use this to actually enhance the energy of whatever it touches. So like me, I'm holding it, it's enhancing my energy, but then you can even put it on your other stones and enhance their energy. So once again, you could go back to laying down in a meditative state, having your eudolite, and then let's say you put your epidote right next to it on top of it, and that's going to enhance your properties, your healing properties of your eudolite. And then flow that energy of the eudolite throughout the rest of your system. So you can pair your epidote with any of your stones to enhance them. But I personally like to do it with the heart chakra ones, because now I'm enhancing and I'm flowing throughout the rest of my body and all my energy systems. It also brings about spiritual growth, releases negativity, and raises your vibration in general. It's very strong stone. This is a great stone for if you suffer with like bouts of depression, like chemical imbalances, like not so like for instance, like somebody that I knew was struggling from depression, that he didn't really have a root to it. Like he was just a kid at the time and he just had these like bouts of it. Like he'd be really motivated and he's super smart and he's on his way to college, but then he's like that something about that triggered his depression. And I gave him an epidote to bring with him to college, like to remind him, like, when you're feeling that down, it's only temporary. Hold this with you to kind of bring that energy up during that time so that you don't keep sinking down, but to also just like recognize and accept your own personal ebb and flow and work with your own energy and utilize this epidote to try and raise your vibration when you are feeling really down. So I found it was really helpful for my depression, as well as if you have like a chemical imbalance depression. There's a lot of different, depression, I feel like, causes. And this just really helps bring the energy up in that situation all around. Ruby and Zoisite. I love this stone. Dunk, so you can see his cool colors. So this one's got the green and pink purplish going on. This is the ruby in the green zoisite. And then you even have some black, because when I get to it, you'll see that this is also going to link your root chakra, your heart, and your third eye. So this is an excellent stone for connecting 3 different chakras at once. And it will help you live with a greater joy and gratitude. This stone helps you appreciate what you've already got going on in your life, appreciate the relationships going on in your life. So you can also find it will alleviate bickering and arguing. I found that as well, because you're just like, you realize how happy you are just to even have that camaraderie or have that connection with that person that you care about. And you start to just ease up a little and start kind of bringing out the compassionate and the conversation rather than bickering and fighting. So passion and vitality, living in the moment, letting go of all fear. This is very positive and playful stone too. Whenever I carve it for someone, I get like really like uppity and bubbly, because like it really does instill, like injects this positivity like right into your heart, and this gratitude and this appreciation for like just everything. Like you hold on to it and you don't even really need to ask yourself what you're feeling like appreciative for. Like it'll just like zoom into your head and you're like, wow, I am appreciative for that. So whenever you hold on to this stone, or put it on your heart. This is another one I like to carve into heart shapes. It's going to really instill, like, you're all of a sudden going to start making like a gratitude list in your head, which is very important to do as much as you can, to look at what you appreciate and what you find gratitude in, because that's going to help you let go of fear, going to help you let go of worry, self-doubt. And this especially is good for grief, anger, and despair. So I held on to this real hard because with my grief and my trauma, it triggered so much anger. And then seeing this positive, bubbly, bright, fun-loving stone with these like cool colors popped in it, and like it's like sea foam. Like, what is this green even? You can't not feel like that shroud of lingering darkness energy is like literally like the sun coming through the clouds when you hang on to this ruby and zoisite. So because of that, this encourages you to stay heart-centered, hopeful, and peaceful. And when I do that, when you're in that energy of heart-centered, hopeful, and peaceful, I can start to visualize and see things I'd like in the future, happy things, because that's what we want. We want to visualize good things and good, happy things in our future, because that's what we're going to end up manifesting. But if we're thinking about our past and living in the past, we're going to be replaying the painful memories. In turn, we're going to end up attracting more pain. So we want to try and shift from a past thinking to your present, heart-centered, hopeful, peaceful energy. Now, that moves us right into dioptase, and that's going to help you. They kind of can play really well together, dioptase and ruby and zoisite, because dioptase is actually also known as like the mindfulness stone or like the present stone, because it helps you to heal these really tumultuous grief, abandonment, betrayal, abusive relationships, or if you were abused as a child, like really hard stabbing into your heart chakra kinds of pains. This is going to help you to let go of them, but not to let go and like forget, to learn from this situation. But like what I wrote down here, allows us to let go of the painful emotions such as resentment towards yourself and others. So that's like really important. Is yes, you want to let go of the painful memory, and you want to come to terms with that, validate your emotion and feel that. But this is going to help you let go of that anger that you have towards, let's say, the person or the situation. And I found that in my case, it was the person, the situation, and myself, because I could see how I was to blame. But that doesn't matter anymore. You already now have that gunk, that trauma in your system. Your nervous system is already hurt in that way. Placing blame on anybody, even the person that actually did the problem, is not going to alleviate it. So you want to work on letting go of that resentment, letting go of that feeling of revenge too. Like, this person deserves bad things to happen, or they need to hear what I have to say about what they caused me. Like, they don't. Because you don't know what's going to, let's say you do that and you think it's going to be really good for you. Let's say the person does say, I'm sorry, and that really helps you validate your emotions and let it go. But here's the reason you don't do that, is because what if that person says you deserved it? Now you're like back in the same pain. Like, you can't put your healing in the hands of somebody else, even if they're the ones that hurt you, because you don't know if they're ready to accept or understand how they hurt you. So you want to take this on yourself and try and heal and validate, let go, reinstill compassion, and come back to your present. So then you can make decisions better moving forward. Because a lot of the times, reopening that connection to somebody to have that conversation is going to become more harmful and drag on the trauma process. Like, you're going to drag it on like even longer. So you just cut that out, focus on getting right in this moment. Now that's where Apache tier rolls on in. This I brought up in the root chakra session, but I wanted to bring it up for the heart chakra because it helps you to release these things like the black obsidian, bringing it up to be faced and released. However, it does it gently, as if like falling tears, you know, like an easier, calm, you can handle it. And I'll show you Apache tear. You can't really see it in this light. Let me pull it up on my flashlight here. You can see kinda, yeah, so you can see through it. So you can see my light coming through the Apache tear. It will not do that for Black Obsidian. You will not be able to see through it. So that right there shows you this is a lighter energy, a lighter volcanic, you know, getting all that stuff out, but in a gentler way, just based on the fact that you can see through it. And Black Obsidian, you can't. So that's a volcano that's going to erupt. So helps maintain a positive attitude by understanding the valuable lessons in life's ups and downs. Instills compassion and understanding, which I believe is like the way to let go of anger and resentment. I wore mine right nooked here through my throat chakra. Even though it's a root chakra stone and a heart chakra stone, I wore it here because the more that my heart and my root started to understand that perspective of compassion, I then spoke about it to somebody. And I said, I could now understand why A, B, and C happened because so-and-so grew up like A, B, and C. They did the best they could. Didn't mean what happened was favorable and then I'm going to accept it. No, we're not going to accept it. We're not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to go through those types of situations anymore. But at least now I can understand and let go of that resentment so that I can move on. It's for me to move on. It's I called it a calm, gentle upheave because it's going to cause catharsis, but I had to wear it for a week straight. So hold on, like if you don't want to wear it, work with it for a little every day and sit with it and let those thoughts and those emotions come up. How it happened for me was the first thing that came up was the memory. So what followed was the anger. I was like, oh, and I felt all of it. And I was still kind of in that anger. But then the next thing that rose up was, okay, so why though did that happen? And it started to shift my thinking towards an external, towards the compassionate side. Because I was like, you're right. Like, there's always a cause. There's always a cause and effect. So once I was able to upheave that anger out, I then upheaved this understanding. And then in turn, I was able to cry. I was able to finally get to that root, that bottom emotion, which was just like, yeah, dude, I was tired and that was too much. And it was a lot. And then I got rid of that. And then I was able to find this like overwhelming love and compassion for the person that had caused that pain. Because I was like, wow, with all of that out, I can really see clearly the whole situation. And I can't even tell. And then right after that moment, it fell off the necklace I was wearing. And I was like, oh, I guess I did the job right. So it's like, and the more you keep, and it'll come up in waves instead of all at once, where you have to like kind of shuffle through and be like, oh, what's all this mean? It literally does it in like stages for you, for digestible stages. Like, here's the one, handle that, deal with it. I had to yell a little bit. I think I like threw something. And then I sat down and I did, the next level was coming like 2 days later. And I remember exactly where I was sitting in my house too, talking it out and watching my own speech change from one of personal, how this was hurting me. And then it was changing to like seeing how that person was hurt and how they were just projecting onto me. And then by the end of the whole thing, I was like a different person. Like the person I was speaking to, even, they were like, how'd you just go from hating that person to loving them and crying for them? Because then I was crying for that person. So I was like, God damn, I'm glad I didn't grow up that way. I'm glad I didn't have the extent of pain that they did. And you then can really release a lot of those negative and parasitic energies. That's a big one with Apache tier. Parasitic energies are like, for me, they're replaying things in my head and imagining angry scenarios on how I would handle that situation. That's parasitic. That's draining my energy. And it's literally transmuting the rest of my energy and the rest of my body to being short, impatient, and ill-tempered. So yeah, once I start to feel that parasite wiggle in my brain, I immediately start to switch and think of the compassionate side for that person or the situation or whatever. Because that's one of my biggest things is from my trauma came a lot of anger, and that anger is very much parasitic. So once I start to feel angry towards someone's actions, I go and I sit and I get alone and I pick out my Apache tear and I'm like, all right, bro, show me the compassion. You can even like look through it and like just kind of getting the whole your whole body and your whole mind like in that view of like I'm looking through the pain of my own so I can try and see the compassion so I can let go of that resentment and that anger. Oh, huge on these. And then once you get all that out, you're gonna kind of be like, I felt honestly a little bit like, well, not like hopeless, just more like I'm tired. Like now that I've gotten rid of all this stuff and I upheaved all these things, like now what? Like it was kind of that kind of a feeling. And that's where your moss agate moves in. I love moss agate. This stone saved my life. I'm going to just say that because right when moss agate found its way to me, I always let the stones like kind of come and then I would learn about them after when I first started. And I found out this stone relieves despondency and literally gives you the inspiration to try again. Like literally says it. And I was like, oh, well, this was perfectly timed. So your moss agate, think of moss growing in the woods. It's usually over something that's decaying, something that's probably kind of ugly. It's like not very aesthetically pleasing, but then you have this carpet of this moss, this lush living life that's like encapsulating the whole forest floor. And it's doing it slowly, and it's not trying to fight for space, fight for sunlight, fight for anything. It's just existing in its own little world, and it's got its own little organisms that live within it, and it's just doing its own thing. And I really resonated with that. If I can see my life as moss and how it can be slow and patient and steady, and it can grow on top of things that are already decaying inside of me that I felt I had decayed, or just petrified wood, like to grow on this decaying matter. I wanted to tie in petrified wood real quick, so I brought one up. This, you can literally see it looks like bark. And petrified wood is when you've got old growth that dies and it immediately gets covered by the earth immediately. So no oxygen hits the decaying matter. So it stays its chunk of wood underground. And as underwater streams or waterways with sediment and debris, they will start to flow through the organic matter, and the minerals in the water replace the organics into rock. So that's how petrified wood forms. And that goes to show a lot about your root chakra: slow, steady, keeping it grounded, this is very safe, structured energy. It makes you feel very stable. So I use petrified wood in joining with my moss agate because it really helped bring that forest visualization and that slow growth and like the old growth of an old forest, and like how things in nature just take so much time. And we rush in our society. We rush a lot of things, and we even want to rush our own healing because we just want to get back out there and do the things. But this really helped me realize that once I heal slow and steady, the rest of how I interact with the world. I'm grateful for that disconnection from that rush, go. It brought me to a different side of living, honestly, like where I don't have to feel overwhelmed by somebody calling me a million times. I don't have to feel obligated towards anything. The only obligation I have is to grow my moss and redo my forest, like cover it up with the moss, get it all nice and alive again, have the little organisms move in, get some fungi popping up. So those are the things that are really important for you, like no matter what. So when you do start to feel overwhelmed, you do start to feel hopelessness or, giving up, return to your moss agate, return to your petrified wood, return to structure and stability and slow and steady growth. This is also tranquil and emotional balance stone, being that it's an agate. This is your heart chakra agate. So, and then balances yin and yang extremes, which was also like my masculine and feminine extremes. Oh, thank goodness, because I had an issue with that. I grew up with all brothers, and then when I left and joined the world, I had all dude friends, and we surfed and we skateboarded, and I loved that. But then I got into my late 20s and into my 30s, and I'm like, okay, why do I still feel so weird? Because I had no feminine balance at all in my life. I always thought that femininity meant weakness. So I was like, get rid of it, get it out of here. I had a bad association with feminine energy being weak and unreliable. So I just embodied all this masculine energy. So I'm reliable and I'm tough and I'm strong and I can conquer anything. But I was still sad. I was still so out of whack and like didn't have motivation or drive because I was not balancing the two energies. I wasn't utilizing the masculine to create this container or this structure for then my feminine to be able to just like fill with creativity and just receiving energy and just enjoying the moment. So when I started to realize how important, it's funny, I didn't realize that you would think that that's something you'd realize right off the bat, like about life, is that you should balance your masculine and feminine side. But man, I really blocked that out of my brain. I decided that that's just not how it's going to work for me. And I got so far in my healing, like 6 years into working with all of this, and I'm like, I still feel weird. Why? And agates were just like staring me in the face, being like, well, are you balancing your masculine and feminine? Are you embracing and embodying both of those sides of yourself? And I totally wasn't. And it can be as simple as like, for instance, I'm in a relationship now, but I was never in good ones. But now I'm in a relationship where I can trust my boyfriend to take the trash out. This also means like, don't take the trash out. That if he wants to do that and that's his job, you can sit back and let it be. You know, like I had a lot of problems with that, letting go of a lot of responsibilities that I figured only I could handle and that I can only get done the right way. And now I'm starting to realize the more I'm giving up these masculine, tough situations and scenarios, I am feeling like beautiful again. Like I am feeling divine. I'm feeling this goddess energy. Like I can actually like enjoy, like when I do yoga, I feel like cute and sexy. And at the end, I'm just like, oh yeah, like all these emotions that I never felt before as a woman, even like I am a woman and I never felt those things. So the more you start to really like lean into and balancing these two energies and saying like, just because I can jumpstart your car doesn't mean I have to. Like I've got a neighbor next door with like 4 sons, like they can handle the situation. Like go knock on the door, like be like, it's okay. That's another thing. Our heart chakra is open to receiving and giving energy, receiving and giving, receiving and giving. And I never received. I was just like, oh, I got it. I couldn't trust the incoming. So I was like, no to all of it. So you really want to get that flow of give and receive. And moss agate really helps with that. Because moss, if you're focusing on your moss all the time and that slow growth, you do have to relinquish some of all the responsibilities that you thought were important, because they're not. You are the most important. So when you focus and redirect your energy to what's important, you start to realize like trying to impress somebody with something that's a masculine task, which I used to do. You don't need to do that anymore. It's unnecessary. Helps release your negativity, and also another one that raises your vibration. I feel any stone that connects to nature in this way, that, you know, literally looks like moss or something like that, like the petrified wood, things like that are going to naturally raise your vibration, because being out in nature naturally raises your vibration. So if you can't get out, it's a snowy day for us here. Work with a lot of your moss agates, tree agates, petrified woods, things that are reminding you or reminiscent of nature, and that'll help raise your vibration. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Rose quartz. I know everybody knows rose quartz, but I wanted to bring it up because there's a cool practice I do with rose quartz in the shower. But here's my giant chunk. This is a piece that I carve pieces off of for making pendants, but I love having it around. It's great to have that weight in your hands and like having it just kind of like out in the room that we're in. But rose quartz is a universal love stone. So it's going to help open your heart chakra in that way. However, I find because it's also going to help you with like relationships, but the main relationship you want to focus on first when you're healing your heart chakra is the relationship with yourself. So learn to universally love yourself first, and that's okay. Like, I'm not saying that's okay to be mean to everybody, but I mean, it's okay to just focus on that first. They always say in like addiction recovery, which is very synonymous with emotion, like with all this healing, but they say like, don't get in a relationship in the first year. Learn to love yourself first, because then if that relationship tanks, you might go back to your drug of choice or your alcohol or whatever it was you were addicted to. And so that really rings through to this rose quartz like so much. Like, love yourself first, and then you can give your love away. You can't give any love away if you don't have it. That's actually what these tattoos mean I have on my arms. I have one rose for, you got to love yourself first. And then there's a bouquet of flowers, because then you can give it out. You can give it away, but you will always have this one flower, this one rose for yourself. This is always, you come first. And that's not a selfish thing at all, because you can be so much better for the people around you when you have that self-love, when you have that self-respect and that feeling of also like knowing when to say no, or what you will accept or what you won't accept. You're going to be better for everyone else too, because you're going to have the patience, you're going to have the mental stability, the emotional stability to really be involved. So aura cleansing in the shower. Well, you can do this in the bath too, but I don't have a bathtub. So this is like my little tip and trick. You want to, water is highly susceptible to picking up the vibrations because water doesn't really have its own vibration. It amplifies, or it takes on frequency vibration of whatever you put in the water. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that YouTube thing going around with like this frog. He's like croaking in the water, and you see the vibrations coming from the frog. So that's what happens when you put like a stone in water. So I have a little chunk of rose quartz that I keep in my shower, and right when I'm done at the end, I'm like cleansing myself, and I'm like saying to myself, I'm letting go of anything, any impurities or anything debris that I might have picked up today, by being out there interacting with other people, any kind of thing that might have dimmed my universal love or my self-love or anything like that. And I take this rose quartz and I clean it under the shower, because I'm like giving it respect. I'm showing it like I care about it. And now I would like it to care about me. And I put the rose quartz above my head where the shower water's coming. And as it's coming now, it's drenching over my body. I now say out loud, I am now bathed in universal love. I am engulfed with universal love. And just saying that and feeling that and having that water vibration cascade over you like that, you literally, you walk out of that shower, and that anything that was bothering you before is just so much lighter. It's gone. Even you just feel so much better. So that is a good practice. You can do that with a lot of your stones in the water. I try to, I did a sacral chakra healing with myself after our workshop, actually, and I took in carnelian, and I took in that sunstone, and I did that same thing. I let it had the water washing over the stone and then washing over myself. And I also had sacral chakra healing frequency music on, and I had candles lit, and I got out of that shower and I was just like, oh, not only do I feel so much better, but I also felt confident and sexy. And I was like in the candlelight, and I was like, oh yeah, look at me go. Like, and I had this newfound energy that I didn't have before, because I washed away the old and I bathed in the new. Moving into water, we're going to now move into our throat chakra, guys. these are going to be, now once you've worked with all your heart chakra stuff, it's really important to speak about it. Like Sherri said in the beginning, it's unbelievably important. And my biggest like advice for speaking on your deepest traumas, and you finally have that strength to move into your throat chakra work, know the right people to open up to. The right people. Go to somebody that either you trust in your family, or somebody that's a really close friend that you know is going to give you this positive support, or reach out to a healer, reach out to somebody that works with these kinds of things, because they're ready. Like, we're ready for the healthy response that you need, and not so much if you go to somebody who's still working on their own traumas and their own pains, you might be faced with, oh, that's not so bad, here's my trauma, compare your trauma to my trauma. And that's really, like, it's beyond bad for you. Like, I can't explain. I remember that happening to me a while ago, like years ago, and I had brought this up, finally opened that throat chakra, and I got that kind of response. It pushed me back, my healing, like another 7 years. Like, I regressed. Like, I finally got up to that motion, and then that was said to me in response, and I said, well, F it. And I just turned to drinking drugs, and I went down the spiral. So please, I implore you, when you are ready to speak in a safe space environment, safe space. I know that Sherri has a group on Facebook that's a very good safe space, and I also have one that's safe space. It's private. Nobody on your newsfeed can see it. I utilize that for my own personal healing. I would go into that group and I'd just be like, I'm ready to talk. And I don't know who to trust right now, but I know that these specific people in this group are meant for helping and healing and support. So I would say anything to them. And then you get the validation, the understanding, you resonate with these fellow people. And the best part is, your sad story inspires all the people that you tell it to. The right people will be inspired, and they will be motivated to heal how you're healing. So that's why it's important to express with your throat chakra. It is for healing yourself, but it's also going to help heal the people that you speak to. It just always will, no matter what. Like, there's times where I think like, oh, like, I'm not going to be triggered by someone's story, and I still get triggered by someone's story, and I still realize there's more healing that I needed to do that I didn't even realize. Like, a friend of mine was telling me a story. He made a mistake, he messed up, he wasted his money on something, and now he doesn't have rent. And I started crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I know this is for you, but I feel this. I understand this feeling. I used to live there, and I know how that feels. And I can honestly, with empathy, say, I'm sorry for you. I feel bad. And then we had fun, we both went and had a good day after that. So remember that if you can't do it for yourself, try and say then you're doing it for others. That's something that I used as like a little mental trick for myself, because it was hard for me to speak of my trauma. So when I put it in the terms of, well, I'm also helping other people find this courage and this strength, that motivated me more, until I found that self wanting to do it for me. So blue lace agate this is your throat chakra agate. This is my favorite for your clear communication. See these laces like this? They're always going to look like this in a blue lace agate. They're always going to be uniformed and kind of like a wave and really calming to look at. So calming, whenever you calm yourself and you start to relax, then you're able to speak better. You ever try to talk when you're having an anxiety attack? It doesn't work. So it's the same thing though, like even though you're not presenting in a full-fledged anxiety attack, your nervous system's still freaking out about what you're trying to say. It knows that what you're about to talk about is tough. So you want to bring your blue lace agate in your pocket or wear it when you go to try and speak on these things. I personally am always like, I don't care if anybody sees it, and I'll have like a rock in my hand. I will always play with the stone that I need in that moment, no matter my audience, no matter if I'm out in an area people don't even know about gemstones. Like, I don't care. It's for me. So I always keep them in my hands. But yes, you can put them in your pocket. You can, yeah.
I just wanted to let everybody know we're at 45 after. We're going to run over today. So
Yes.
if anybody has to leave, that's totally fine. We aren't going to take offense to it, but this is really good stuff. So we're just going to let Lex go. And
I got 2 left and then we're
yeah.
good. So,
So, but if you have to go, you can go. So I don't want you to feel like you have to stay. Just want to respect everybody's time. Well, thank you.
thank you. So yes, easier to become confident and articulate. That's very important too, because when you're trying to express yourself, you do want to articulate. So when you're working, you start with your heart chakra, you start to understand the emotions, you start to understand where these things are coming from. Now you can actually articulate that into words, which is very important, but also very hard. So this is going to help you with that connection. Speaking of my boyfriend again, he also has that problem. He feels all the emotions all the time, but then when it comes to speaking on them, it's very hard for him. So I always just like slip. Like one day he woke up and realized I slipped all the blue lace agates by him, because like that must be so debilitating to have all of that feeling, to have all of that understanding, but not be able to communicate it with somebody. So this is really great for making that connection. And then same with, this is our almost last, Amazonite. So Amazonite is my favorite throat chakra stone because it connects your heart to your throat. So when you are trying to, it's for communication, but it soothes anxiety, aggression, fear, worry, and anger. Instills confidence and awakens compassion for others. Also attracts money and success, but that's because once you alleviate fear, worry, anxiety, aggression, when you alleviate and soothe those things, you can think more positively, in turn attracting those things like abundance. And it brings joy. So joy is associated with your heart chakra. So when you're in a joyful position, it's easier to speak on tough things. I think we mentioned something like this last week with the crazy lace agate. Bring light to it, make light of it. So when you're in a joyful state, you can make light a little bit of the heaviness. And the Amazonite is really great with upheavaling all of that and then out your throat chakra, but without crushing you. Like it's like a different, like, as it's coming out, you're almost like, oh gosh, oh, okay, it feels good. Like you're being relaxed the more you get it out. With the Apache tear and Black Obsidian is more like crying, a lot of that. This is like very, it feels so good. So I like to working with those stones in that order will also help you get to this free flow state. And then our last guy would be still Amazonite, but it's a graphic Amazonite, and it's like that graphic feldspar we talked about last week, where it has smoky quartz in its compartments. So your one graphic Amazonite will connect your root chakra, so you're going to feel stable, you're going to feel safe, and you're going to feel protected. And then it's going to flow through your heart chakra with that joy and that lightness, and alleviate the anxiety, aggression, fear, anger, and worry about what you're about to speak about. And then you can bring up your handy dandy blue lace agate. Now you got your articulation. Boom, you're ready to go. All right. So I will throw in one last. Light green serpentine for your heart chakra is great because it's a tender natured nurturing stone. So if you have, like Sherri, how you said in the beginning, you had some really tough stuff in your heart chakra, this puppy is good to get you okay with facing it. Like it's gentle, tender natured heart chakra healing stone. So jade is its brother, but this is the light green serpentine. And you have lemon jade, which is also like they're all in the same family of heart chakra. But when you go with the light green, I tried carving this guy into an animal, didn't really work out. But you go to the light green, it's gentle, tender natured. I'm all about slow and steady wins the race, gentle growing moss, gentle, tender natured heart chakra healing. All right, any questions, guys? Oh, just a thumbs up.
Well, thank you so much, Lex. I love that. Like, there are so many crystals that I didn't really know so much about, and you really expanded my brain. So thank you. And I was like, I pulled out my rubies, my moss agate, and I'm like, oh, you. So I'm
Right?
gonna
Like
be
a
working
newfound
with
love
them.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so definitely guys, if you want to contact Lex about crystals, I contacted her last week about the golden healer hearts. I have them now. I bought a few of them because they're beautiful and wonderful. So she's amazing, and she'll be able to hook you up and make sure you're getting the right crystal for whatever your goals are. And also, she is spiritual life coaching. So if you're interested in that, and I also do spiritual guidance. So, we are happy to help if you do want to have that conversation where you want to be heard or you want to be validated. That's what we do.
Yeah,
We
we're
help
safe
people.
people.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh my gosh, this is the time to promote your praise, Sherri. Like, I met Sherri 7 years or 5 years ago now. It was a long time ago, and I
Mhm.
found her because I followed intuition and Google. Like intuition woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "You need to find somebody, the right person." And I was like, I don't know what that means. So I just like started Googling or like looking up on Facebook, like spiritual people who are cool and nice. Like I didn't know what to look for. But Sherri was the first person that had popped up, and her patience, compassion, support, and validation, like risk just it solidified a lot of craziness I was thinking, feeling, and it was just like, okay, cool. I'm not crazy. Someone else understands. And then the kindness that was given in return was excellent. So yeah, totally recommend that.
Oh, thank
Totally
you.
recommend Sherri. Totally recommend. Yeah, we're both available, but I did have to say that because I've been reminiscing a lot about you lately, Sherri, and in those
Oh.
beginning hours of my craziness.
Oh, I've always loved talking with you, Lex. You're amazing. I always have such a light about you. Even when you thought you were in dark times, you always had such a light. And so I'm really happy that you're sharing it with everybody and you're doing such amazing things in the world and helping people. So I love
Thank
you.
you.
And I'm just so happy for you. But
Love
yeah,
you, Sherri.
before I start crying, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But thank you so much for being here. If you'd like to, bless Lex for her wisdom and knowledge, you can always donate on our website. The link will be in the podcast, or you'll get that in your email if you're here live. And then also, you can always bless her by buying crystals from her because it's her passion. You get to make her dreams come true, and that's always a huge gift. So
Thank
all
you.
right, yeah, and thank you guys so much. We have one more session to go, and we'll be meeting back next week. And if you haven't registered for that, please do. Or you can go into the Facebook group to the events, and you can just click the link at the time and meet you back here. All right, so thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye, everybody.